I keep trying to quit my job, but it is literally not working. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today I am here to do a little dream job update. Honestly, you guys eat up these social work or career videos, so I'm here to give a little update. Particularly, here's the thing. Well, I could easily disappear from the internet and or choose not to share certain things, but I just feel like if a person opens up their big mouth, then they kind of got to be able to back up whatever it is that they're saying. That's just a personal belief of mine, and they got to be able to I don't know, I feel like people should be able to walk the walk and talk the talk. So I opened up a big can of worms, if you will, when I shared about my dream job that I thought I had procured, and when I talked about not liking it. And so again, I could disappear and never give another update, but it doesn't really hurt anybody for me to give an update. So if you're new here, let's throw it back. I've been a social worker for a long time, like 13, 14 years, something like that. I majored in social work in undergrad, and I majored in social work in grad school. So I have a master's degree in social work. I have done pretty much like clinical roles, I feel like. Yeah, all of them. So clinical social work, even though when I was getting my master's degree, I was doing the administrative track. Basically, I was thinking I would work in administration in social work. I was lobbying at the Capitol and like doing all kind of stuff in undergrad and grad school, just really thinking I was going to be fast tracking it to being an administrative social worker. That quickly changed. I don't think I've ever even held a full-time job that wasn't clinical. You know, even when I think about some of my beginner jobs, my entry-level jobs, they were still clinical. None of them have been macro. I have quite literally never worked in a macro setting. So I just was doing a video the other day where I make all these elaborate plans and then things change. Always. It's crazy. I don't think no big decision that I've ever made has ever panned out. I think it's always been something different, hopefully something better. I don't know. When you don't go with your original plan, you just have to, but you're not mad at the new plan, then I guess you just have to assume that the old plan wasn't for you and it wasn't the right plan. That's the only thing I can assume. Basically what I'm trying to say is, I guess working as a macro social worker wasn't in the cards for me. I literally interned at the housing authority. I was doing research. Like, your girl was fast tracking it to be a macro social worker, but I actually more so practice at the micro and meso levels with a little bit of macro social work thrown in there through like some advocacy on a larger scale, and I would say when I'm providing education and teachings and trainings and things like that. So anywho, I'm here to give a dream job update. Always been a social worker. I even went into college not looking to major in social work. It's crazy. Like, literally everything that I've ever really wanted to do in life on a larger scale has not come to fruition, and I've done something else. Working as a social worker for 12, 13, however many years now. In 2022, I left what was easily my favorite job after 6 years, and I took on what I thought would be my dream job, and that would be working in a clinical social work role within the public school system. I quickly learned that was not going to be the job for me. It sounds dramatic to say that I knew at orientation that the job wasn't for me, but I'm not here to share why I felt that way. I don't do all of that. Like, I'm not here to do all that, but just trust me when I say. And then I was thinking, you know, Shay, this is day one. You're at orientation. You're not even in the field. You're not actually doing the job. Like, be for real. So I gave it some time, but every day that passed, I just knew the job wasn't for me. And so I actually shared that I shared that I got the job. I shared what it would look like. I've been sharing updates since then. And if you've been following, I'm just here to go ahead and, I guess, not even beat around the bush and just let you know that my feelings haven't changed. I have not really enjoyed my job working for the public school system, and there are a lot of factors that contribute to why, but I can give you the biggest reason, which should be the only reason that I would need to give or to provide for it to make sense. Because I can sit here and try to dissect the public school system or whatever all day long. It's not really going to matter because the overarching issue just reigns supreme. And that is because, I said it once and I'll say it again, I have always worked at different facilities and treatment centers and all of that with at-risk children, helping them to work through some of their struggles relating to emotional struggles, social struggles, behavioral struggles. That's what I've done this whole time. I love kids. I love working with kids. And I really just thought that working in the public school system would be like a dream gig for various reasons. But anyway, that's what I've always done. And I've always been at these different facilities and with working at these different programs and such, where I was surrounded by a lot of social workers. And unless you're a social worker, you're not really going to understand where I'm coming from, but we operate differently in a lot of ways. And there are ethics and rules and guidelines that govern us and that we all follow. So it's kind of like, it sounds like a cult, but it's kind of like, the best example I can give is, first of all, let's backtrack. Working for the public school system has been a shock for me because I do not have that community of social workers, if you will, that I am really used to, and the vibes are completely different. Again, while I have shared that I don't love my job by any means, I haven't really shared like all the nitty gritty reasons because I don't see the point. Also, I'm not here to bash the company or whatever. Like, I don't have that big, if there was some big huge issue that I wanted to, talk about or whatever, then I certainly would, but there's no wrongdoing done unto me. There's just no big issue. I just don't like the feeling of it. And mainly it's due to the fact that I feel very isolated and I feel very alone. I was talking to my previous coworkers because I had gone to hang out with them. I go hang out with my old coworkers way more than I hang out with my current coworkers. And so I had gone, because they invite me to things and stuff. So I had gone to hang out with them and we were just kind of talking about it. And I was telling them, this would be somebody's dream gig. Somebody who doesn't really want to be bothered. They don't really like collaborating with other clinical staff. Somebody who doesn't really care if, somebody's checking in on them, all of that. Like, this would be somebody's dream gig. It is absolutely not my dream gig. It is very uncomfortable for me. I have always worked in a field where, I could have clinical supervision with my supervisor and I've been offered other supervision. So like clinical supervision with my direct supervisor and then actual supervision with a supervisor in the social work field. If you're a social worker, you probably get that. But, that was offered to me. We've always had weekly meetings or at least like monthly meetings to discuss cases. We have collaborated. I was able to work alongside other social workers daily, regularly. And one huge element of social work is to be able to basically collaborate or bounce ideas off of or consult with other social workers and other clinicians and people working in your field or even supervisors and just people not working in your field but who are still social workers. And so all of that has just been new for me. It's been something that I have not cared for. I have not liked it. I used to talk a lot about it with my previous coworker who was working this job, but she started, I think, right when I started, but she left after maybe 2 years. I'm not happy about that. I think I might call her or text her in a minute to tell her how I'm still not happy about it. We hang out all the time. She's one of my close friends, but that wasn't very fun for me. But that part of it, I just really don't like. Oftentimes, I'm the only social worker in the whole entire building that I'm in. And I've shared this many times before that all of the supervisors that I've had in the few years that I've had this job have all not been social workers. My current supervisor is actually a speech therapist. And so all of that is just very weird and uncomfortable for me. And so my issues likely aren't with the public school system, like in and of itself, but rather the district that I work in and how it is operated. So I've even considered maybe trying a different district. In fact, I have applied to social work roles at 2 other districts. And one, I probably would have gotten that job, but There were on-call obligations and some other things that I do not do. I know some people don't mind to do on-call. Some people in the social work field will pick up on-call duties for the additional pay. There are lots of restrictions that I have. I have a lot of boundaries as a social worker, mainly because I never want to be burnt out and I never want to not be happy about doing the type of work that I'm doing. So I just don't allow myself to be run into the ground, and that just is what it is. So we had some disagreements there. And then the other one, I don't know whatever happened there. I don't even really remember. That was so long ago. But every summer when I'm off of work, I literally go apply for a job and I attempt to apply and interview usually. And I attempt to just kind of see what else is out there, but it never works out. So here I still am. More of the story, I still feel the exact same way about my position. I love, and I need everybody to hear this, love, obviously, working with at-risk populations. I love working with kids in particular. I've never not worked with kids. I love just helping them to do better, to act better, to cope better, to manage their frustrations better, their anger better, or their stress better, or their grief better, or whatever it is that they have going on. Love it so much. That will never change. So I always say you can throw me in any job as long as I'm doing the same type of work, preferably working with kids, though I don't mind working with adults, but I prefer kids. You can throw me anywhere. I'm still going to perform at the same level. I take that very seriously. So though I don't love my job, which people are shocked to learn, or I don't really care for it, I still very much like the work that I do. So I still do great work, as evidenced by people telling me that. And I know that I do great work, so you really don't have to tell me. But at any rate, I'm just kind of used to mixing and mingling and collaborating with, you know, my colleagues. But at any rate, I'm just kind of used to that type of environment, just being really collaborative and all of that. Of course, I do collaborate with other stakeholders like admin, principals, school counselors, and stuff like that. But they're not doing the role that I'm doing, so it's a little bit different. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever worked a job where I didn't see my supervisor or see my coworkers. You know, I work with 4 other amazing women and we all do the same job, but we work in different zones, so I don't see them but maybe like once a month. I don't see my supervisor ever. I never go to her office unless there's a random training a couple times a year. It's just how it's structured. There's nothing against any people specifically. In fact, I feel like I work with some very nice, kind, hospitable Southern people. Like, I can tell you lots of principals who I love, lots of other administrators. I can tell you I love my coworkers. I like my supervisor well enough. I can, for, you know, based on what I know of her, I can tell you lots of people who I love, but we have different disciplines. We have different aims. We're looking at things differently, and so that is just a little bit weird for me. Again, this could be somebody's dream job. I'm sure somebody loves not having to look at their supervisor, not having to meet with them ever, not having to meet weekly to discuss cases, because that has always been the case at my previous jobs, and it can be a little annoying, obviously, having to have so many meetings and stuff like that, but it's just not my dream job whatsoever. But I do a good job at it, so we love that. So some new updates. Well, I did lose a lot of my students this school year. I'm very sad about it. Very sad about it. But there are some updates that I have to share. One being I lost probably 8 students. One dropped out, which I knew they were going to do because they don't have very many credits and they're actually like 20 years old. So I knew that was forthcoming and they had been talking about it for a while. One graduated and then the rest of them relocated out of the state or the district. We're in like week 3 of school. So I went back to work a week before the students though. So I'm in week 4. We do year-round school. It technically is year-round. We just have lots of breaks at the end of each quarter basically. And then we have like 6 weeks off in the summer, but technically they call it year-round school. So I lost a number of students, which I'm not too happy about. I'm very sad to have lost some of the ones that I lost. I would be sad to lose, you know, the vast majority of my students, of course. because I don't know, I just feel like when you're working with a kid for X amount of years or X amount of time, getting to know them on a deeper level even, it can just be sad to see them go abruptly, because it feels abruptly, like if their family moves over the summer, which happened, that was a case for a number of my students. That makes me sad. But I am starting to get some more students. I've so far added 2 new students to my caseload, 1 this week, 1 last week, and I have some referrals pending. I think I may add 1 next week as well. So, you know, I'm kind of getting my caseload back up. It's still at a decent level, make no mistake, but it is kind of getting back up to where it was at the end of the previous school year. But I love the work that I do, always have, and I always will. That will not be jaded for any reason. I wouldn't even allow the public school system to, you know, to cause that to be jaded. But yeah, lost some students, getting some students back. One huge update is that I had applied for this job over the summer. I'm pretty sure they were going to offer me the job. However, they were offering a decent salary, and it's no shade towards their salary that they were offering me. And there is a scale, and the scale is such that I would be paid like on the lower end, which wasn't low, and not on the higher end, of course, because, you know, why would they do that? But even that base salary, that entry salary, was not bad at all. However, my school district did a salary study for all folks who were not on the teacher scale, and it was determined that for my position, we were going to get a raise. And so given the fact that I got that raise, it wouldn't make sense for me to go to that other job, because the difference was minuscule. I'm talking probably like $1,000 difference, and my commute would be double, and I would have to work. It was a federal job, so I would have to work, I think, like 262 days is what the average federal worker works per year, whereas I only work literally half of the days of the year. So it would not make any sense in any way for me to go work that job, though I did think I would like it. I love the interview. I love the people who I interviewed with. My supervisor was going to be a social worker, so that was going to be exciting for me. That's what had happened, and I knew the salary study was going to be taking place. It was no guarantee that I would get a raise, or the people in my position would get a raise, or that we would bump up on the table. It's technically what it's called. And so I knew about the salary study, but then I went to the interview, of course, and then it was in between the time when I went to the interview and when they called me to do my reference check that I had been gotten a letter in the mail regarding my raise and what that would look like. So it was a tough decision. Well, it really wasn't that tough. Had I not gotten the raise, I would have left easily. But I'm like, I'm trying to leave this job. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm not trying that hard. Literally, I go on one interview per year, and it's normally in the summer. For whatever reason, I'll go looking for jobs and see what's out there, and I'll interview. I've probably gone to like 5-6 interviews since I started this job, and it's either some stuff that's not jiving well with me personally or me professionally, or the salary's not high, or it's not high enough for me to leave this job. I don't dislike it that much. Make no mistake. But I'm the type of person who, when I'm going to work, I'm going to work to do my job duties primarily. Like, so long as that's bringing me fulfillment, I can pretty much work with everything else. Would I like to have this job for the rest of my career? No. Will I? Likely not. Hopefully not. Prayerfully not. But I'm not, that's my main focus, is to make sure I'm facilitating services appropriately, ethically, morally, and just to the best of my ability, because I'm here to serve, in this case, my students, my clients. That's my main priority. That's every social worker's main priority who works in this type of field. That's what I'm mainly there to do. So I kind of block out all the other noise, and I just hone in on making sure I'm doing a good job. But anyway, that's what had happened. So I did not take that job. I got some questions about that. I did not take that job. You know what I get questions about a lot before I started creating these videos? People will be like, oh, how you like your new job? Because they know that I have a new job, because I would tell them. I tell my friends and family members and folks that I'm when I'm starting a new job, typically, you know, I feel like that's normal. And then they'll be like, well, how you like your job? Talking about this one in specific. And I tell them, I'm like, everything that I tell you, and they're shook. And I'm like, well, did you want me to lie to you? Like, be for real. I could have told you I loved it. It's the best job in the world. Or I could tell you the truth, which is important to me. I don't have to tell the internet the truth. But I feel like it's important to share. So I'm going to share it. Anywho, another important thing that has transpired is that my district is actually, unbeknownst to me, hiring social workers for the first time ever, like full-time social workers, to do actual school social work, because that is an actual job title and a job position at the high school level. I'm assuming they're starting out at that level. A lot of social workers, school social workers, they will work at multiple schools. So it wouldn't be, I'm sure they're trying to work out the kinks of what it will look like in our district, but I'm sure eventually they might hire some more, or they might work at multiple schools, 2-3 schools, some of the school social workers, but they were hiring at the high school level. I think there are like 5 high schools or something in our district, and they were hiring at the high school that I go to. I only go to one high school, as you can imagine. I go to 8 schools each week, and only one's a high school, because that just seems to be the case. I serve one zone, so actually it would be just a little odd, I think, to even have multiple high schools in one zone. I don't know how other districts do it, if they're separated by zones or not, but we are. My camera turned off and I had to get a new battery, so I don't really know where I was leaving off, but I think I was just sharing that the high school that I go to, they were hiring a full-time social worker. Obviously, I'm a social worker. So when I saw that on the website, I was thinking about applying, but I actually called, well, I texted my supervisor to ask about it, for which she was like, you can't leave your job. And I'm like, I'll get back with you, because should that job be something that I want to pursue, then I will be leaving this role, girl. But I'm still here. She didn't have the answer, so I reached out to HR, and they were telling me that, like, technically the actual rule or whatever is that should I take that role, I would have to earn a lesser salary, just because of how the structure is. That one is on, that role is at a lower level on the table. I would have to take a pay cut, and I was like, that ain't gonna work. My coworker was interested in the same thing at her high school where she works, and she learned she would have to take a pay cut too. So neither of us were interested. But if you remember, I always thought school social work, the actual school social work job, which this was as close as I was getting at the time, I always thought that would actually be like my dream gig. I know now it would not be, but I would have taken that job just because I love the high school down. I have 2 schools who I really like, and somehow they know. Somehow they know. I think because we just have great relationships, somehow they know that I don't mind going to either of those schools, and they don't know that I love both of them necessarily. Like, they each don't know, but they somehow kind of know. Like, today, one of the administrators at the other school was like, you know, we're your favorite, right? Type of thing. So I'm like, not maybe. You're high up there, but I don't know. It's kind of like a tie between me and you. It's kind of like a tie between the 2 of them. They actually are 2 great schools, 2 great teams of people working together, and they are like by the book, and they don't mess around. Like, it's serious business. And I love that for them. They're not like sloppy, and you know, they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, especially for students with disabilities or at-risk students. So I rave about them. I have other schools too that are good, but those 2 are great, just all around. I don't have bad things to say about them, especially not in the last couple of years. Anyway, moral of the story is that I was thinking of applying there, but I would have to take a pay cut. But I, don't really know. I don't think the district even really knows what the school social work role will really look like, but it enticed me because I love that high school and I would be stationary. So instead of bebopping to 8 different schools each week, trying to hunt down my kids at 8 schools, which is a task, I would be stationary and I would not have like a caseload. I think I would just serve students who need whatever services, whether it's some kind of individual counseling session or group counseling sessions or whatever the case is. So that actually intrigued me, but unfortunately I cannot take a pay cut. I think I would probably go back to what I was just at before I got a raise. So, it wouldn't really be a big difference in my salary at the time, but it would be moving forward once I start getting my new paydays, my new paychecks, if that makes sense. But I just couldn't bear the thought of doing such a thing, even though I would just go to one school each week. I feel like that would maybe make for a better experience. That's one of the perils of doing this job as well, is that I have to contend with 8 different schools. They do things completely differently. There's different levels: elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. Some do really well all around. Some don't do too hot. But, I just don't really fit in anywhere. I try to hang and incorporate myself into the different schools and try to be a team player. And like I said, I feel like I do my job as well as I possibly can, given all of the barriers. A huge barrier is trying to be a part of 8 different school systems. That is very difficult, especially when they all do things differently. They have different climates. I'm trying to adjust to all of them. I'm still trying to adjust to all of them. I do feel like I'm in a good place where, for whatever reason, I have great relationships with the front desk workers. I don't know if they have training in customer service or what, but I feel like they all are very nice and kind and helpful and hospitable, all of them. So I don't know what that's about. I'm sure they have training to do that job. I'm sure they don't put a mean person or somebody with a bad attitude in that role, but they just all do that job really well. So for whatever reason, I have great relationships with all of them. And I would say great relationships with most of the administrators and the teachers, particularly the special education teachers. I feel like most of them. But yeah, that's one of the perils. So there are a lot of struggles. I'm not the only one who feels this way, as evidenced by just having communication and conversation rather with other people, even other related service providers like speech therapists and physical therapists and OT, occupational therapists. Another thing is spacing. I have to have private rooms to meet with my clients because what they say to me is confidential. So that just is a general rule of thumb when you're providing any social work service or counseling service. And obviously I'm providing counseling. And so trying to find space at 8 different schools is difficult. It's just lots of struggle. So the idea of having one office, one school, one administrative team who I already love, just one school in general where I love all the teachers. Yeah, I love all the teachers at that school as well. So it did sound good, but it wasn't going to work. That didn't seem very smart. Plus, I don't know. I don't really want to leave my students. Long story short is that I keep trying to quit. It's not working out at all. Like, it's really not working. So at some point I have to ask myself, well, Shay, and I am growing a lot clinically in this role in a lot of ways. I'm learning to be flexible, which traditionally I have not been that flexible. I've been more rigid. But I'm learning to be more flexible. I'm learning to get along with all these different teams of people. I'm learning to adapt so much. I mean, I've never had to adapt this much. As soon as I walk in I could go to, like today, I went to 3 schools. And as soon as I am getting out of my car and going into the school, I'm like immediately adapting to the climate and all of that. And so I've been doing really well with that, and I've grown in that way. I've grown in a lot of ways, so this has not been in vain. Also, I will have you know that I call this the easiest, most difficult, highest paid, chaotic job that I've ever had. It is the most everything. I earn the most and my compensation package is the most. The retirement plan is fire. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, even though I keep trying to quit this job, when I learn about all the intricacies of these other jobs, I'm like, nah, that ain't gonna work. If you tell me that I have to work more than half the days of the year and you're not paying me like double the salary, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I don't think I can't go. If you tell me that the amount that you're gonna contribute on my behalf as far as retirement goes isn't more than what they're doing now, I'm not gonna be able to go. If you tell me that I'm not gonna have 6 weeks off in the summer, okay, that's unrealistic. But if you tell me I'm gonna have to be on call when I don't have to be on call now, I'm not gonna be able to go. So I might be at this job. I came on here to say, behind the scenes, I really am trying to leave this job, but it's not working out at all. So that begs the question of, this quite literally might just be where I'm supposed to be. The last 3, I think this is my 4th school year, perhaps, which is kind of funny because I actually do see myself working this job long term. Like, because it's such a comfortable job, I guess, I can see myself working this for years. And one cool thing is I'm guaranteed a raise every school year. I just bump up a little bit. I'll max out at a certain amount. You know, there is a cap for the salary for this job. And the cap, I don't know that I'm fond of the cap necessarily, but I can see myself like continuing to work it just based on all the positives that I've shared, plus based on the fact that I get a raise every year and I get a summer break. And honestly, my husband's working in the public school system, which he has been doing so longer than me. And so, you know, having summers off with him and other breaks and stuff is ideal. My old job's always trying to get me back, but unfortunately, I don't think they would ever be able to, and the reason being, I don't think they'd offer me the same salary. Like, I don't know that it's within their realm of possibility to offer me a similar salary. The retirement's not anywhere near what it is now. You know, there are a lot of perks. People talk a lot of stuff about public education, and believe you me, it is definitely a struggle. And that's kind of that's what I'm here to talk about. I could talk about struggles at all of my other roles, but what would be the significance, I guess. But that's pretty much what I'm here to say, is that even though there are a lot of nuances, I call them yellow flags, which there still are. I think I probably have the same amount of yellow flags and the same ones that I had starting off working this job. So I would say they're still pretty much the same, even though there are some perils and some struggles. Overall, it's not a bad gig, especially if I compare it to other similar gigs. So do with that information what you will. I just wanted to give a little update. I still don't love it. I'm not head over heels obsessed. My previous job was a tough act to follow. That is probably why I'm in the predicament that I was in. I probably went in thinking it was going to be something like that's a tough act to follow. That's a tough act to follow because, again, that was my favorite job. I grew the most. I had the most clinical support. I got the most, like, they paid for my clinical supervision, or yeah, my other supervision. When it comes to social work, there are 2 types of supervision that you can receive. But anyway, they paid for that, which was a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars, I would assume, or had I had to pay out of pocket, it would have been, I don't know if they got a discount or whatever. Perhaps, I don't know, but lots of money they paid for. They paid for, like, my trainings. My previous job, I could go to lots of different trainings and they paid for it. I could be like, hey, there's this really cool training in California and I could probably go to it. I would go to different trainings in different states and they weren't super expensive and they would cover it because that's what they did. They would cover me renewing my social work license, which was a requirement for me to have that job. Also a requirement for me to have this job, and this job doesn't pay for all my trainings and my CEUs. It doesn't pay for my license renewal. It doesn't really pay, you know, really for anything. So it's just been a huge shock working this job, but there are positives to it. So because I wouldn't say, I don't know what I said about the job. I know I didn't say anything too crazy, too bad, because that's just not who I am as a person. That's a little tacky for me. I'm not a person who bashes stuff, but I would imagine I've probably said something similar, but I don't really know. All I'm saying is I still feel the same way about the job. Literally. That being said, if you made it to the end of this video, which bless you if you did, be on the lookout for a day in the life video, and let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything that I said or anything you want me to address in the upcoming day in the life video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and if you're liking what you're seeing, and I will catch you guys right back here in a few days in a brand new video. Bye guys.